Hello everyone, today is our sampling methods review. Please follow along with this review, take some notes. You can use it for Friday's quiz. Okay, so here we go. For number one, a college president wants to find out which courses students consider to be most beneficial. Which procedure would most likely produce an unbiased sample? Okay, unbiased means like a fair sample, right? We want something to be equal for everyone. Choice A, asking students to mail in a questionnaire. Choice B, surveying a random sample of students taken from the list of all students. C, surveying 20 students in a business class. Or D, having students complete a questionnaire on the college website. Well, if you want it to be fair, you usually want to have a random sample, okay? But not only just a random sample, but you also want it to be out of like a list of all of the students. Asking students to mail in a questionnaire, you're gonna only get the people who want to do the survey. Not everybody's going to respond, so I would not say a questionnaire would be most unbiased. It would be B, but let's just look at C and D. Surveying 20 students in a business class. Well, if you're asking them what they consider to be most beneficial, which course, and they're in a business class, that's definitely going to be a little biased. And D, having students complete a questionnaire on the college website. Again, this is a questionnaire and it's on a website, so they would have to go on if they're interested, and you're not really gonna get the most fair sample. So a random sample taken from the list of all students would be most unbiased. Number two, a large corporation wants to find out which benefit plan its employees would prefer. Which procedure would most likely produce an unbiased sample? So again, we're looking at an unbiased sample or a fair sample. A, surveying a random sample of employees from a list of all employees. B, asking employees to indicate their choice by email. C, placing suggestion boxes at random locations in the company's offices. Or D, assembling a group with one member from each department and recording the preferences of these employees. If I look at the first letter, A, surveying a random sample from a list of all the employees, again, we're looking at randoms and we're looking at from a list of all employees. So to me, that's pretty fair. Let's look at some of the other choices. Asking employees to indicate their choice by email, that's voluntary. So again, since it's voluntary, you don't really know who's going to send it through email, so it's not going to be the most unbiased. So I'm going to cross off B. Placing suggestion boxes at random locations in the office. Again, you're going to have people who aren't going to put stuff in the suggestion box, so that's also voluntary. Whether you want to put a suggestion in or not, that's not going to be the most unbiased. Assembling a group with one member from each department, and then recording the preferences. So yes, this would seem to be pretty unbiased, but to me, the most unbiased would be surveying random samples of all the employees. Number three, Kyle interviews every fifth person who enters the mall to see which stores are the most popular. This sampling method is, so every fifth person jumps out at me. Okay, this is a pattern. Okay, so every fifth person is always going to be systematic. Okay, think of the word system as a pattern. Okay, so that would be systematic sampling. Choice number four, which method is most likely to produce a random sample of the members of your class? So again, we're looking at like this random sample, this unbiased sample. A, listing the first 6 students that raise their hand. This is voluntary. Once again, this isn't really random because you're choosing people who want to participate. Choosing the 5 youngest students in the class, not so random. You're choosing the 5 youngest. It's not really going to be a good indication, but let's keep looking. Writing the name of each student on a separate piece of paper and then drawing these slips from a hat. Okay, that's pretty random to me. This is actually simple random sampling. And selecting the first 6 students to arrive at class. So again, that's not really random enough. The most random would be picking out of a hat. Okay, so we're gonna cross those off. Selecting the first 6 students to arrive at class is probably most likely convenience. Just whoever arrives first would be convenience. Okay, flipping over to the other side. What is the difference between cluster and stratified? So both of these involve groups. Okay, so they both involve grouping of some sorts. Okay, so grouping by zip code, grouping by class size, I don't know. There's different ways to group members. Okay, but the major difference is the keywords. So for stratified, you're you're splitting them into groups, but then you're choosing from each group. Okay, so stratified, you're choosing from each group. Okay, whereas cluster, okay, you are forming groups, but you're selecting all of the members from a group. Okay, so those are really key terms here. Cluster, you're choosing all the members from one or more groups, and choosing each for stratified. So those are the key words. All right, so on your quiz, you're also going to have to identify the different types. And again, I'm going to show you that towards the end. So let's just look at some examples. There are 6 sampling methods that you have to study. Okay, and just to go over them, if you wanted to take notes, because that is your assignment. Okay, you could look back to the sampling methods reference sheet. That was one of your assignments, but it gives you a really great chart here of the definition and the keywords and examples to look for. So systematic, it's a pattern, every 4th, every 10th person, every 2nd person in line. Okay, if it's a pattern, it's systematic. Simple random sampling, you're completely random, picking out of a hat, having a random number generator or computer generator pick for you. Okay, convenience sampling, you have to think about, is it convenient? Is it easy to reach the people, easy to reach? Having the first 100 people that enter a room, maybe because you work at Starbucks, you're going to pick the first 50 customers that walk into Starbucks. Okay, is it convenient or easy to reach? Voluntary response. Are there volunteers? Are you asking them to complete a survey but it's not required? Are you telling them, here's a coupon code that you can try to fill out if you're interested? Having people vote, okay, that's all voluntary. Stratified and cluster, again, we just talked about, those are both involving grouping. Stratified is when you have, you're splitting them into subgroups, but then you're choosing members from each group. Okay, so keyword is each. Cluster, you have pre-existing groups, but then you're selecting all the members of one or more groups. Okay, so again, if you want to take any notes from here, you can look back at our previous assignment. So let's just look at some of these and try to figure out which sampling method is being used. Ms. Ketchum assigns a number to each student in her class and places all of the numbers in a hat. She randomly picks 10 numbers from the hat to participate in a survey. Okay, in a hat is right there is the key. It is simple random. Okay, simple random uses computer generators or choosing out of a hat. Lisa needs to do a project on cafeteria meals. She decides to give a survey to the first 20 students who walk into the cafeteria during her lunch period. Okay, the key here is the first 20 students to walk into the cafeteria during her lunch period. That's also important. So since it's during her lunch period and it's just the first 20 students who walk in, we can say that's convenience. Okay, it's the easiest method for her to use to get people these surveys. So just think about, is it easy to reach those people? Yes, it's just the first people walking in during her lunch period. Number 8, a college class is broken up into groups. So we have to think about already your groups. It's going to be one of the 2 that we talked about on top. We broke them up into groups of 10 students, and then you're choosing 3 students from each group to complete a survey. So you're choosing from each group. Okay, so looking back on top, choosing from each would be stratified. Okay, that would be the stratified sampling method. Number 9, viewers can call in and vote for their favorite dancer on the show, So You Think You Can Dance. No one is required to vote, okay? There are people who watch it, there are people who don't watch the show. So that is completely voluntary. Okay, it is voluntary, we call it voluntary response. Okay, no one has to vote. Okay, it's completely up to the person watching the show if they would like to vote or not. You interview every 10th customer that walks into Home Depot to find out what home improvements people are currently involved in. Every 10th customer. Every 10th customer. Different than saying the first 20 students who walk in. That's just easy and convenient. The every 10th customer would be systematic. There's a pattern. Okay? So please make sure that you have taken some notes, and I would like for you to submit your notes that you have taken from this review as your assignment for Monday. And then wait on Wednesday, you're going to get the answer key for this. And I would like for you to study for your quiz on Friday. Okay, so keep that in mind. You should be reviewing these different sampling methods that are on the reference sheet. Okay.